They are going into the greenhouse. It's a moving day, kids, moving day. Hello, friends, and welcome back to our homestead. Today, I'm back in the greenhouse. I feel like my whole spring is in the greenhouse. And it's because I am working with seedlings. And today, I'm going to be transplanting some of these seedlings into a larger container. So you've probably seen my part 1, how to start perennial herbs from seeds. And I started seeds. I brought them in a house under a plastic dome to give that moisture covering. They sprouted. I removed the dome, and they were sitting under the growing lights in my house, which was really an incubator-like environment. There was no fluctuation in temperature. It was nice and warm. They had 12 to 14 hours of light that I had supplied them from the lamp, and they were sitting there like happy little guys. However, they need more space. So take a look at these guys. Do you see how some of the leaves are beginning to yellow? It's because even though they've been watered, they're not dry, they need nutrients. And these cells are so small, they need more space. So today, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be transplanting them into a larger container, and I'm going to fertilize them. I have not fertilized these guys since the moment I put them in the soil. But now I'm going to be fertilizing them every couple of weeks. And I will show you my favorite fertilizer that I like to use. And there's so many other organic fertilizers. And by the way, you can make your own as well. And I have done that in the past, and I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to put up a link for that video, how I do homemade fertilizer for seedlings. Very, very cheap and very efficient. So today I'm going to be transplanting, and I'm going to start with my marigolds. I'm going to put them into bigger containers. The other thing that's very important when these seedlings look like this, they grew up literally in the most incubator safe temperatures and environment. Now they need a little bit of hardening. They need a little bit of taste of reality. So I left some of my marigolds outside, and it was windy just for an hour. They were not out there for too long. And it was a nice warm day, 55, but it was windy. Let me tell you, they looked very, very disheveled. They looked so messed up. So, so these guys need a little hardening as well before they actually go outside and be planted outdoors in the soil. So let's talk about hardening just for a minute. Hardening takes place outside, outdoors. When you take out your seedlings outside on a warm day and you leave them on the sun porch or in the back of your house where it's not terribly direct sunlight, but they will get natural sunlight. And also they will get natural airflow and a little bit of wind. I would start slowly, about 1 to 2 hours per day. And then eventually take them out every day, if it's a nice day, of course. And you take them outside every day for about a week. Keep increasing that time, an hour or 2 per day. Keep increasing until they are strong enough to spend the entire 24 hours outside. I wouldn't do it on the very direct sunlight, and I would not do it if it's snowing out, obviously. But I tell you that I take them outside on my porch, and they're sitting there happy for an hour or 2, and then I bring them back inside. And I keep increasing that time until they're happy and strong enough to go outside. My other method of hardening is actually putting them in my greenhouse. I keep them in a greenhouse just like this, okay? And they get daytime full sun, just like this. And then I keep them right here where they are still protected from any kind of strong wind or anything like that. And to expose them to wind, I leave the door open so they get fresh airflow. And that's all I do. Nothing special, nothing too much. Because sometimes taking seedlings out every day and bringing them back every night, it's kind of a lot and, can take a lot out of you. But putting them in a greenhouse, if I know the nights are not freezing, the nights are about 35 to 40 degrees, and I put them in my greenhouse, During the day, I open the doors so they get plenty of airflow, and voila, they are hardened and they're ready to be planted outside into the ground. First, I'm going to prepare the soil, potting soil that I'm going to be using for transplanting my seeds. So to this now I'm going to add about a cup or so of perlite just to loosen up the soil a little bit and make it a little fluffier, because this one is a little too dense. And also I like to add a little bit of potting soil that has a lot of peat moss. Peat moss also, and I'm not going to measure, but I'm going to add, see, it's very peat mossy, probably about 3 or 4 handfuls to that as well. It's going to help to keep moisture, okay? I'm just going to mix everything together. It's going to help to keep moisture in a soil. All right, I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to keep moisture, and it's just going to be lighter for the roots to develop. So I'm just going to mix everything together, and I'm going to make sure that the soil is nice and moist. Right now it's kind of dry. It's kind of dry. So let me show you, since these are going to be for the seedlings, okay? These are not for seeds. These are for the seedlings. These are the seedlings that already have at least two of their own independent leaves. So they need to be fertilized. So because this soil is quite dry, look, I can't even make a clump. I need to be able to make a clump. I'm going to be adding moisture, but it's not going to be just regular water. Let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to soak the soil to make it nice and moist, and with water that is mixed with Neptune's Harvest fertilizer, and it's right here. Again, I am not sponsored by anybody. I am just showing you guys what I like to use, okay? So I'm going to be following instructions, what it says, how much to use for the plants. It's in the back of the bottle. So I just poured a little bit into my measurement cup like this. Let me push this aside. And I'm going to be mixing it in a gallon of water, okay? In a gallon of water. And I'm going to shake it all and make sure that it's well distributed everywhere. And that's how I'm going to moisten up the soil where the plants will be growing, okay? So I'm just going to pour that right in there, making sure that the soil is nicely soaked in this fertilized water. And I'm going to make sure that the soil is nice and moist, and I'm able to make a clump. So that's how I know that the soil is going to be good enough moisture for the roots to develop. See, now I can make a clump, so I know that it's moist enough to put them in the new pots. Okay, I like to use larger pots. I didn't measure this, so I'm not sure how big it is, but I think it's a 4x4. It's about 4 inches. You can use a little smaller. Sometimes people even use party cups, and they work just fine. Just make sure you make holes on the bottom. It's important that there are drainage holes on the bottom, but they can be used. So now I'm just going to be taking out this way overgrown poor little marigolds out of their little cells, and I'm going to be planting them in a soil that will have a whole lot more soil for them. So I'm going to put some soil on the bottom. I'm going to fill it up at least halfway, maybe 3/4 up. I need to make a hole in the middle, okay? And there are special tools for that. I just use, finger kind of to push a little space, okay? And then I need to take out this plant out of the cell. One of the things that I always make sure that it's nicely moistened. So water it so the soil is nice and moist. It will be easy to slide right out of that cell. Also, it is nice to use something to scoop it with. Again, they sell on Amazon and other gardening websites where you can get a little tool to help you to scoop it up. I use it either a plastic knife, the back of a plastic fork, something like that that will help you to scoop out the plant out of the cell without damaging. So I like to use something like a plastic to kind of assist to loosen up the sides. So when I take out the plant, the sides, the roots are not damaged, and I just kind of scoop it out. Okay, and now I can go ahead and place it into my pot a little deeper. So, and I'm gonna now cover everything with additional soil around, stabilizing the stem so it can now grow in a new medium, fertilized soil. Okay, it's gonna have plenty. Tap it a little bit. Sorry, my camera is moving. Tap it a little bit so it's stabilized and it has plenty of new soil, nutrients, moisture to grow. Look at this. Isn't this nice? All right, come over here. I'm gonna stand him up and he's gonna go sit with the rest of his friends. Okay, all my transplantation is done. Just gonna do a quick little watering over, just like this. And I'm gonna keep them in my cold frames because at night it's still quite cold. It goes down to mid-30s. But cold frames will keep them nice and cozy, and all of these plants are not afraid of the cold. So they're not gonna exactly freeze for me. So I'm gonna keep them here. So friends, I hope you are encouraged to start your gardens, because most of these guys here are all herbal things. Well, some kale and cabbage, of course, but most of it is all herbs, because herbs are needed. Because today you have medicine available and tomorrow you may not. So as a homesteader, as a mom, as a wife, I pay attention to what herbs I have on hand, and I like to grow as many medicinal herbs as I can. So friends, be encouraged and try something new.